Hi, my name is Nicholas. Welcome to this week's Hatha practice. A few props for today's practice. I would suggest having a couple hard blocks, a soft block, and then maybe a blanket nearby. When you're ready, we'll get started down on the back. So if you want to have any of your props nearby, then go for it. And coming down to find any comfortable symmetrical position. So it can be more of a Shavasana-like shape, or if you prefer to have the soles of the feet together for butterfly legs or something like that, then go for it. And take your time to get nice and settled in here. If there's a little movement that helps you get a little more comfortable, then go for it. And if for any reason being on your back like this isn't working for you today, then maybe a comfortable seat or child's pose or something like that. As you feel ready, start to quiet down the body. Start to quiet down the mind. Start to quiet down the breath. Finding stillness here. Gently deepen the breath. And when you feel ready to start to move the body, you can start by wiggling the fingers and the toes, maybe pedaling the ankles, circling the wrists. When you feel ready, you can reach the arms up overhead. Give yourself a full body stretch. Reach the toes, reach the fingers, maybe wiggle the shoulders and the hips. And then keeping the arms up overhead, scoot the hips over towards the left-hand side, and then take the feet towards the bottom right, maybe the arms towards the top right. And keeping the pelvis equally heavy on both sides, start to breathe into that stretch through the whole left-hand side of the body. And if you like to cross left ankle or wrist over the right, then go for it. And take a few deep breaths here. And then as you're ready, gently release everything back towards the midline. And we'll take the hips over towards the right, feet towards the bottom left, maybe arms towards the top left. Pelvis nice and heavy. Find that stretch from the right wrist all the way down to the right ankle. Head can turn however feels the most comfortable. And breathe into that side body stretch. Gently releasing everything back to midline. And from here, collect the knees into your chest. You can wrap the arms around the shins, maybe lift the forehead towards the knees, give yourself a squeeze, and maybe a gentle rock side to side. And then we'll go up and down the spine a few times to massage out the back. When you're ready, building up a little bit of momentum, and eventually coming up to find a seat. We'll set up for staff pose here. So if you're using a hard block or a soft block rather, maybe coming to sit up off of the edge of it. Legs can extend out in front, and if it feels better to keep a bend for the knees, you can roll up your blanket underneath them for a little more support. Any version of this shape though, and take a moment to find that sense of length from the heels to the tailbone, from the tailbone to the crown of the head, a sense of space across the chest, the shoulders, a little softness if they're shrugging. And then maybe palms flat to the floor. You can use your blocks if the floor is far away. You can do hands to prayer. Or you can reach the arms up towards the ceiling. Finding your version of the shape, maybe closing the eyes down if they're open. Soften anything you don't need here and breathe deeply. The last few deep breaths here. And then when you're ready, you release the arms, give them a little shake out, maybe a tap for the backs of the knees, or you can windshield wiper the feet. And then when you're ready, come and find your easy pose. So any comfortable cross-legged position. You can still sit up off of your prop if that feels better. And we'll sit up to Sufi grind here. So hands to the knees, and then starting with the spine upright, start to circle from the base of the spine, moving in a counterclockwise direction. And you can keep the spine upright. You can keep the circles a little bit smaller. Or if you feel ready to, you can start to exaggerate this movement in any way that feels good. Moving at a speed that works for you, maybe with your breath, or you can go a little faster, a little slower. If you find a sticky spot, you want to pause and breathe into it, then go for it. Your next exhale, wherever you are, take a brief pause. And then with the next inhale, change direction. You can start off more upright here. You can exaggerate the movement whenever you feel ready. Make it whatever you need to be. Move with your breath. And take one last full circle this direction. And then eventually coming back up to your tall seat. Lengthen the spine, settle the hips, soften the shoulders, and everything else you don't need here. And only when you feel ready to move again, you can swing the legs around and then come and find a tabletop position. Setting the hands roughly underneath the shoulders, the knees roughly underneath the hips. The next time you inhale, let the belly sag down, lift the heart space, lift the tailbone. As you exhale, press the hands to the floor and dome the upper back. And then flow your cat-cow, move with your breath at your pace. And again, you can keep the movement just like this. Or if you like, you can start to exaggerate in any way or add on, maybe a side stretch or a gentle twist or anything else. Last few rounds. If you added something that's on one side, just make sure you have done it the same amount of times on the other side. The next time you exhale, coming back to your flat back. And you might take the hands slightly forward, step one foot between them, and then step the other to come and find a forward fold. So starting off with a generous bend to the knees here, bring the chest and the belly onto the thighs. You can stay right here, maybe wag the tail a little bit. You can play with extending one leg a little more, bending the other. Any movement that you need. And if you need the spine to be a little more upright, you can be on fingertips. You can bring your hard blocks in. Moving the body in any way you need, finding that stretch through the legs, through the low back, and anywhere else. And when you're ready, you can come and find your stillness. You can keep as much of a bend as you need to keep the chest and the belly on the thighs. And then find an arm expression that feels good here. You can let the arms dangle, or maybe hands to opposite elbows, or any other arm expression you like to explore.
And take a moment to notice the feet. Notice where your weight is. Is it more heels or toes? And can you balance out the two? Working with your breath here. Imagine that with each inhale, the pelvis gets a little bit lighter, like it's floating towards the ceiling. And with each exhale, the head and the feet get a little bit heavier. If you have a bind, you can let that go. Bring the hands to the legs and come and find a halfway lift, lengthen. Exhale and fold back over the legs. Inhale, lengthen, halfway lift. And fold in. Once more in. And out. Inhale, halfway lift. And this time plant the palms and step to plank pose, top of a push-up. And press the palms down to the floor. Press the feet to the floor. Knees can be lifted or lowered. And take a deep inhale here. With your exhale, lower all the way down to the belly. Untuck the toes. Press them down and inhale breath for a cobra pose. Lift the heart, the head, and then soften. And twice more. Last one. Now inhale, press the tabletop. And with your exhale, find downward facing dog. And taking a few breaths to set up your shape. Find the proportions for hands and feet that feel best here. Maybe a little movement through the hips. Keep the hands actively pressing the floor away. And just like in that forward fold, with your inhales, a little more lightness for the pelvis. And with your exhales, a little more heaviness through the head and the feet. All right, stay here. Take a deep inhale. And stay for an exhale. Now inhale, bend your knees and look forward. With your exhale, walk your feet towards your hands for your forward fold. Halfway lift, lengthen. And pause here with the exhale. And then strong belly, flat back. Inhale, come all the way up. Reach the arms up towards the ceiling. If you're at all lightheaded, you can come partway down or you can keep the arms lifted. And when you feel ready, you can release the arms down to your sides and find your mountain pose. And take a moment, lift and spread the toes, lower them with a little distance in between if you can. And take a rock onto the toes and then to the heels. Find that balance of weight between the two. Notice what the legs need here. The pelvis, the low back, the upper back, the shoulders. Find a shape that feels natural and comfortable. And if things feel a little wobbly, you can keep the eyes open, maybe finding a gaze point to help keep you steady. Maybe a little more challenging to close down the eyes, but either way, make sure you're breathing deeply here.
Awesome. And if the eyes are closed, you can flutter them open. You can wiggle the fingers and the toes. If you have heart blocks nearby, you can bring them one to each side near the top of the mat, just in case they're handy where we're going. We're going to set up for eagle pose to begin with. So if you know that you want to have a wall nearby for this, then go for it. And we'll start off, lift and spread the toes of the left foot, and then ground them down, really press the left foot to the floor. And when you're ready, with an inhale, we can lift the right knee up to center, and then wrap the right thigh around the left and bend into that left knee. So left toes can touch down to the floor. You can even touch to one of your props. You might need to position a little differently. If you have spacing, you want to do the double loop and tuck those toes around too, go for it. And then bend into that left knee. Stick the bum straight back in space. Mindful that there's no pinching or pain in the knees or anywhere else. Maybe hands to prayer. See if you can find a little more length and space for the chest, shoulders, spine. And soften anything you don't need here. And then just make sure you're still breathing deeply. Last couple of deep breaths. All right, inhale breath, come on up, bring that right knee with you, and then take a big step back with the right foot, and we'll bring the foot flat to the ground with the toes pointing mostly forward. So setting up a warrior one stance. And if you need to take the left foot a little wider or the right, if you need to lengthen or shorten your base, then go for it. So check in here for warrior one. Both sides of the pelvis are pointing in the same direction. And then adjust the back foot however you need to accommodate this. So my back foot mostly points towards the front. For other people, it will be more out towards the side. So see what feels best in your body. Maybe enjoying a nice stretch for that calf or ankle. Hands can be at prayer. If you like, you can reach them up towards the ceiling. Soft shoulders or any other arm expression that you like. Eyes open or closed. Find your breath. All right, if the arms are lifted, bring them to the hips and then extend the left leg towards straight. So transitioning to pyramid from here, some people like to shorten the base a little bit, so you're welcome to do that. And then blocks are nearby in case you need them. So start with the hands to the hips, maybe gently encouraging the left hip back to keep it in line with the right. And take an inhale breath, lengthen here, maybe puff up the chest. As you exhale, hinge from the hips and come down any amount over that left leg. Maybe finding your blocks for your hands or fingertips can find the leg or the floor. So maybe staying in a halfway lift point for a moment, left thumb can find the left hip crease, manually press it back and see what that feels like. It might deepen the stretch through the back of that left leg. And from your pyramid shape, you're welcome to stay in the halfway lift the whole time. Or if you like, you can start experimenting with folding over the left leg. Maybe pulsing with your breath, or you can pause and hold. All right, if you're folded, come back to your halfway lift position, pause here for a moment. And then with a strong belly and back coming all the way up to stand, you can bend the left knee as much as you need. And then we're going to come back to balance on that left foot with the right knee in the air. So when you're ready, one big step or a few, and come on up. So check in here, find your balance, maybe your gaze point. We'll play with extending the leg a few times so you can hold the belly of the thigh. If you don't need the support, then hands can be a prayer, hips, or ceiling. Really press the left foot to the floor. Find that length from the left heel to the crown of the head. And then take a deep inhale. With your exhale, extend the right leg. Inhale to bend. And exhale, extend. 3 more if you can. Last one. Now inhale, stay, bend the knee. And with your exhale, we'll cross the right leg behind the left and over towards the left-hand side. Awesome. And then take the left hand to the left hip, reach the right arm up towards the ceiling. Take a deep inhale. As you exhale, take the hips over towards the right and the top arm over towards the left, finding a side stretch here. And then see what feels better for the feet. If you needed to widen your base or if you'd rather be on the tippy toes of the right foot, then go for it. The top arm can be extended or you can bend and catch the head. And find that stretch to the whole right side of the body from the right ankle all the way up to the right elbow. All right, inhale breath, come on up. And we'll switch sides so you can bring the right foot forward and cross the left leg behind the right over towards the right this time. Right hand to the right hip, pelvis facing the front, left arm reaches up, deep inhale, and exhale, hips towards the left, top arm towards the right, maybe bending the elbow. So mirror whatever you did on the first side and breathe into that stretch for the whole left hand side. All right, inhale breath, come on up, uncross the legs, and then come to center. Just give everything a little shake out the feet, the arms, the head. And when you're ready, come and find your stillness for a few breaths. And setting up your mountain pose, take a moment to ground down the feet, to lengthen the spine, soften the shrug muscles, let the hands be wherever is most comfortable for them. Maybe close down the eyes or steady your gaze. And check in. Find your breath. Only when you're ready, you flutter the eyes open, wiggle the fingers and the toes, maybe a gentle rock with the arms side to side. When you're ready, we'll come back to center and we'll set that all up on the second side. So you can lift and spread those right toes out, lower them with a little gap, rock front and back, find that balance. And then when you're ready, lift the left knee up to center, take a deep inhale. With your exhale, wrap the left thigh around the right as you bend into that right knee. And again, toes can touch floor, maybe block, maybe the double loop if you have space. And pelvis pointing back, bending into that right knee, mindful of the knees, hips, ankles, that it's pain-free. Mirror whatever you did with the arms on the first side. If you're pressing palms, use that action to find a little more space across the chest. Steady your breath here. right, press the right foot down with an inhale. Come on up, bring the left knee with you. And then a giant step back with that left foot. Bring the whole left foot down to the floor. And setting up your warrior one for the second side. So you might need to lengthen or shorten your base, maybe widen it. And check in with the pelvis here, encouraging that right hip back in space. The left hip maybe slightly forward. That left heel is really grounded, the front foot as well. And adjust that back foot where it's pointing any amount so that you can keep this shape for the body. Notice if it feels like a deep back bend. You might even find a slight tuck of the low belly. Imagine drawing the pubic bone up towards the belly button. Hands to prayer, ceiling, whatever you did on the first side. Settle yourself in. All right, if your arms are lifted, you can bring them down to the hips and then slowly press the right leg towards straight. Now see what this side feels like. If you need to shorten, again, you can go for that at any time. And take an inhale breath, lengthen the spine, puff up the chest. As you exhale, slowly start to hinge your way forward, and you can pause wherever you need to. The props are nearby for support, so maybe starting with that halfway lift shape, maybe the right thumb to the right hip crease, manually pressing that right hip back, deepening the stretch through the back of the right leg. And keeping the feet anchoring you in space, and you can stay here in the halfway lift. You can gently start to play with pulsing, folding over the front leg, or if you're ready to fold and hold, then go for it. And be wherever you need to be. Make sure you're still breathing. If you're folded, come to your halfway lift position and pause here for a moment. Anchor the feet to the floor. The strong belly and back, press up, come all the way up. You can bend the front knee as much as you need. And then maybe in one hop, or you can go straight there. We'll come to balance on the right foot and bring the left knee to center. And take a moment to find your balance. Press the right foot down, find that length, right heel to crown. Hands to hips, left thigh, prayer, ceiling. Take a deep inhale and extend the left leg. Exhale. Inhale to bend and extend. 3 more. Last one. Inhale, bend the knee. With your exhale, cross the left leg behind the right over to the right, foot flat or up on the toes. And square the pelvis towards the front of the room. Right hand to the right hip, left arm reaches, deep inhale. And arc over towards the right as the hips move towards the left. Maybe bending the top elbow, catching the head. And breathe into that stretch the whole left hand side. Inhale breath, come on up. Cross the legs and we'll do the second side. So right leg crosses behind left, pelvis square. Left hand, left hip, right arm ceiling, deep inhale. And arc over towards the left. Find that deep stretch for the right hand side and breathe into it. Strong belly, come on up. Release the arms, release the legs. Anything that needs a little shake out, then go for it. And when you're ready, come and find your mountain pose. Finding your stillness, maybe closing down the eyes. And checking in here. Only when you feel ready to, with an inhale, circle the arms up towards the ceiling. And with your exhale, hinge forward, forward fold. Halfway lift to lengthen. And plant the palms and step to plank pose. Knees lifted or lowered. Press the hands down, press the feet down. And take a deep inhale here. And lower all the way to the belly. Untuck the toes, 3 rounds of cobra with your breath. Your next inhale, come to your tabletop. And then maybe the knees a little wider, hips towards the heels. Come and find your child's pose. And take a moment to settle the hips, the forehead. You can add props wherever you need. Arms can be extended, or you can soften elbows to the floor. Find your arm expression here. And from your child's pose, as you feel ready, slowly start to walk the hands back in and lift the spine up. And from here, we'll set up for frog pose. So you might need your blanket for this one. And I suggest folding it so that you can turn it into a long rectangle. You can lie it across the mat and then just scrunch up the at the middle so you have a little more slack. If you're on carpet or something, you may not need this as well. It's just to help the knees slide open a little more easily. And then for your other props, you might bring a soft block kind of near the top of the mat and have your hard blocks nearby. Sometimes it's nice to rest the chest on them, and you may need one or both. So come to a tabletop position with the knees on the blanket. And then from here, start to let the knees slide apart. You can let the feet slide apart as well as you come into this. Awesome. And then find your version of this. So notice where the pelvis is. Sometimes the tendency is for the pelvis to come ahead of the knees. And when that happens, you might lose the connection to the groin stretch. So if you're coming with me here, then take a moment just to line that all up. So left knee to left hip to right knee. And the feet can stay nice and wide. If it feels better to bring them closer together, then just check in with your body. And then if you're bringing the hard blocks underneath, maybe somewhere underneath the belly, wherever feels comfortable. If the floor is a little far away, you could also prop up the elbows on your other prop. So just take your time to find your version of the shape. Find that stretch through the inside line of the legs, maybe through the outer hip.
and listen to your body. If your body starts to feel more receptive after a little bit and you want to experiment with taking the knees even wider, then go for it. And you can always back out anytime. If you need a little more time in this shape, then feel free to stay. When you feel ready to come out, see what feels like the easiest exit. It might be to slide the torso forward a little bit. Maybe you can circle the knees back, and then you can come up to a tabletop position and maybe come back to your rock pose and kneeling position. And take a pause for a few breaths. You can move your props out of the way. Awesome. And if you need stillness for a little while longer, then stay. When you feel ready to move again, we'll set up for the next shape. So if you have your heart blocks, bring one to each hand and then bring the hands just a little bit behind you. I'm going to use the highest setting and we'll set up for camel pose here. So coming in a little differently, you can start to press the hands to the floor, press the knees to the floor, and then start to lift the pelvis up out in front of you. Now, before you come all the way into the shape, see what feels better. So in my body, having the knees just slightly separated will feel more comfortable. So you can just play around with that before you come all the way in. Make sure that the foundation feels set up the way you like it. And then when you do feel ready here, press the hands down, press the shins down, and start to lift the pelvis forward in space. And you might walk the hands a little bit closer as well if that feels better for you. Maybe eventually the pelvis is stacked roughly on top of the knees. The chin can stay tucked, or you can lift the gaze up as well if you like. Make sure that that feels okay for your neck if you're doing it. Maybe imagine a slight hug of the pubic bone towards the belly button, just enough to support the low back. And breathe deeply here into the whole front body. Now, option to stay for a few more breaths, but when you feel ready to, you can exit the way you came in. So maybe walking the hands back a little bit and then slowly lowering the pelvis back down to the knees. You can stack your blocks and make yourself a seat or just sit on the ankles, maybe hands in the lap. And see what you need here. Maybe choose stillness for a few breaths. You could also explore some gentle twists side to side. Maybe a seated cat-cow or anything else. Be wherever you need to be. Awesome. And when you feel ready to move again, slide down onto that left hip. And we'll bring the left shin out in front, roughly parallel to the top edge of the mat, and then the right shin out towards the right, roughly parallel to the long edge of the mat. And then just check in here. I find in my body, I'm like leaning over towards the left. So if you find the same, you might choose to prop up that left hip with something. And if there's any pressure in that right knee, you could even use your blanket just to add a little extra cushioning. Another option might be to elevate the left shin, so see where you need to be. So setting up deer pose 90-90, you can stay right here, you can stay upright the whole time. Otherwise, I'll invite you to fold over that front leg, and you can fold more towards the knee, towards the shin, or towards the foot. So you might just take a moment to see which stretch or which version of the stretch feels best for today. And take your time to settle yourself in. If you find the head floating, if it's uncomfortable, you can add a prop for support. Making sure it feels like a pain-free expression, especially for that left hip, for the low back, the left knee. And finding your stillness as you're ready. Slowly, using the support of the hands, start to lift yourself back up. If you have a prop under the left hip, you can slide it out of the way. And then bring that left ankle closer to the pelvis, reach around for the right leg, and you can bring the right foot just outside the left knee. We're setting up for a twist here, so the bottom knee can stay as it is, or you can extend the left leg towards straight. If you need height for the hips or anything else, go for it. And you can bring the right hand behind you, hook the left elbow around the right knee, and with an inhale breath, start to turn the chest open towards the right, any amount. Notice what the shoulders are doing, keep some softness there. If you like to take the gaze over that right shoulder, then go for it. Inhale, breath, gently unravel to center, then take your counter twist to the opposite side. And then come back to midline. You might release the hands to the floor behind you, release the legs, see what feels good here, maybe a swish, or you can bend the knees in windshield wiper and tap the knees out or whatever you need. When you feel ready, we'll set up for deer pose on the second side. So this time, right shin mostly parallel to the top edge of the mat, left shin with the left edge. Maybe a prop for that right hip, maybe something for the left knee, or you can use your props completely differently for this side if you need something different. And once you have your foundation set up, choose either to stay upright or if you're folding, see which fold feels best. And it is possible that this side needs something a little different to the first, so if it doesn't end up looking exactly the same, then that's fine too. And settling in here as you feel ready, find your breath. Supported by the hands, by the breath, lifting the spine back up. If you have a prop under the right hip, you can move it, bring that right ankle closer to the body, and then help the left leg around, left foot just outside the right knee. See what this side needs for the twist. The option is always there to extend the right leg. Left hand behind you, right elbow to the left knee, any way you like. And with an inhale breath, start to turn your chest open towards the left. Shoulders stay soft, maybe gaze follows that left shoulder. As you're ready, with an inhale, unravel to center and take your counter twist over to the second side. Awesome. And then returning to midline, giving the legs a good shake out, tap to the knees or whatever else they need. And when you're ready, come and find your easy pose, seated cross-legged position if that's comfortable, or anything else that you need, using any of your props. And if you are coming cross-legged, then switch the cross so it's the opposite side that you'd normally take. And take a moment to settle the hips here, to lengthen the spine, find some softness for the shoulders. And then from here, bring the chin in towards the chest, and then start to round just the uppermost back. Let the head be really heavy here. And then check in. If you're feeling enough of a stretch through the back of the neck, a little bit into the shoulders, the upper back, then great. If it feels okay to interlace the hands behind the skull, then go for it. Not so much to pull with the arms, but using this extra weight of the arms to deepen the stretch. If at any moment you start to feel pinching or something sharp and painful, then please back out. Otherwise, breathe here. arms are interlaced behind the head, and gently release them down. And then slowly lift the head back up, stack it on top of the spine. And just for a few rounds, turning the head side to side, let the neck release. Awesome. The next time the head is pointing towards the right, then pause, and then see what it feels like to bend the chin towards the chest once again, this time now right next to that right shoulder. And then find a moment, just like a little adjustment, and find the version of this that feels best. So if that means turning the head a little further back or further forward, maybe turning the chin open a little bit. So just take a moment to experiment and find that best stretch. And then as well, it might feel nice to reach the right fingertips somewhere, or left fingertips rather, down towards the floor somewhere. Maybe deepening the sensation through the tops of the shoulders, or anywhere else. You can release the left arm if it's extended. Slowly start to lift the head back up. And then once again, just side to side a few times. The next time your head is pointing towards the left, pause and then chin towards the chest, let the head round. And again, play around a little bit here with where the face is pointing. Maybe chin out to the side, one direction or the other. Find the best stretch now for the right side of the chest, shoulder, neck. Once you find it, find your pause here, maybe extending the right fingertips down to the floor. Gently lift the head back up and slowly bring it back to center. And taking the head side to side just a few more times. Awesome. Bringing the head to center and now roll the shoulders a few times up towards the ears, back and down. And then change direction.
Awesome. When you're ready, release, give it a little shake out. And from here, we'll lower down onto the back for Shavasana. So if there are any props you like to have nearby for this, then add them in now. Coming to find any comfortable symmetrical expression. And again, if being on the back isn't working, then anything else. Coming to settle into any comfortable symmetrical shape. If you need a little movement to help you find your stillness, then go for it. If there's anything you need to adjust in your space, temperature, music, lighting, anything you need to adjust on your body, maybe releasing hair, or if you have a watch or something that feels tight, you can let that go. Letting your breath return back to its natural inhale and exhale. Find your stillness and your rest.
Gently deepen the breath to reawaken the body. When you feel ready, wiggle the fingers and the toes. Move the wrists and the ankles. Maybe arms reach overhead and find a full body stretch. Collecting your knees into your chest one more time, wrapping the arms around the shins. Maybe a gentle rock side to side. And see if you'd like to roll over to one side or bring the forehead up towards the knees and start to rock up and down the length of the spine. When you're ready, starting to build up some momentum and coming up to find a seat. Finding any comfortable seated position with any of your props for support. And then take a moment to settle the pelvis, to lengthen the spine, soften the shoulders and anything else you don't need. And then take these last few moments of your practice to check back in with the body, with the mind, with the breath. And if you like, take a moment to find something that you feel grateful for. It can be anything at all, no matter how big or small. And take a moment in gratitude. The hands can stay where they've landed or connect in front of the heart, maybe bowing the chin towards the chest. Thank you for sharing your breath and your practice today. Namaste. My name is Nicholas, and thank you for joining me for your Hatha practice. If you have any questions, please reach out and enjoy the rest of your week.